I'd say, do you so you have a part right now you're with a part that looks or sounds a lot like your parent, your father or your mother,
Mhm.
and yet they're not here. So do you think it's possible? Can we check with this part? Do you think it's absorbed some of their energy?
Going Inside is a podcast on a mission to help people heal from trauma and reconnect with their authentic self. Join me, trauma therapist John Clarke, for guest interviews, real life therapy sessions, and soothing guided meditations. Whether you're navigating your own trauma, helping others heal from trauma, or simply yearning for a deeper understanding of yourself, Going Inside is your companion on the path to healing and self discovery. Download free guided meditations and apply to work with me one on one at johnclarketherapy.com. Thanks for being here. Let's dive in. Cece Sykes has over 40 years of clinical experience treating recovery from trauma and addiction. A consultant, author, and senior trainer, she has been educating therapists around the world on how to apply the IFS therapy model to addictive processes. Cece, thanks for coming back on the show. How have you been? What's going on in your world and in your work?
Well, thanks so much for having me back on, John. I love the opportunity to talk to you and to talk to whoever's listening.
Awesome.
Um, you know, life is good. Everything in the external world. I live in Chicago. Chicago. There's a lot going on in our world, all of our worlds. That's different and unprecedented and difficult.
Yeah.
So there's that, and that's just sort of ongoing in my beloved home of Chicago, and across the country, of course.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
for you know, and at the same time, in my IFS world, it's I'm having some wonderful experiences talking with people about how IFS can help with addictive processes, some new
Yeah.
opportunities for that to get out there. So,
Yeah.
in my IFS world has been exciting and fun, and I love talking to people about some of this and other things too. But that's been good
Yeah.
lately.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Yeah. So we had talked a little before hitting record, and one idea was I'm going to show you a clip of an IFS demo I did, so a real session, and um, some protector responses coming up right off the bat. So I want to get your take on that. But I also was going to ask you, maybe we can just see if we have time for this. Is just like when life feels like too much. Like a lot of my clients are just feeling like the world is too much, looking at my phone is too much, and so our firefighters are just busier than ever in my experience and more active than ever.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's really true.
and therapists too, right? When it's too
Oh,
much or too much hearing
see,
about our
that's how
clients
we
talk about the thing that is a lot for us too. Yeah.
right. I mean, we're not even hardly a page ahead. It
Yeah.
started with the pandemic,
Yeah.
probably a little bit, although some certain things before that, and we're not a page ahead on all of this.
Yeah. I find sometimes clients wanna know if their shock is appropriate or proportional, right? There's some of that too, of just, like, wanting to know what your therapist thinks, or if your therapist thinks this is just truly crazy or truly as shocking as they feel it is, or whatever.
Well, it's an interesting question, John, because lies to that question of how much do we share about our
Yeah,
personal viewpoint with our clients and to what end?
yeah,
So, I'm at the, far end of having been in this, therapy world since the 70s. So I have a long perspective, and I have no problem telling people that I've been a psychotherapist for many, many, many decades through many, many different parts of the
mm,
world, and this is unprecedented. So you get to have feelings that are deeply charged,
yeah,
and that I feel grief for people, my own daughters, for instance, but I mean who are in their late 30s, but for people who've not experienced a world other than this,
yeah,
with the external world being so, our particular government in particular being in a very unusual place.
mhm,
So I think acknowledging that this is not the norm in all is always helpful
yes,
to
yes,
validate someone's perception of reality. Whether it's
yeah,
about is my family or whether it's about our larger systems.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really helpful for therapists to validate what's normal and what isn't, more or less, right, within a certain range.
Yes. I've come to understand trauma, if I were to oversimplify it, which I like to do to help then understand all the many nuances of it, is um, something bad is happening and I can't do anything about it.
Right,
The counter vortex, which is what Peter Levine calls it, is something bad is happening and I can do something about it.
right.
I find a lot of my clients, they struggle with what to do with all this extra energy, with this anxiety, right? How to mobilize on it. Um, Also, people's heads are just so incredibly overflowing with information and gory images from their phones and seeing every travesty of the world 100 times a day on their phone, that they're in freeze and shut down and they're dissociated and it's all too much. So they end up kind of doing nothing about it. I was talking to a client the other day and I said, well, what would it be like to pick a cause out of all these many causes that you really
Mhm.
care about
Yeah.
and mobilize on that? Wonder what that would feel like for your body, for your nervous system, for your parts. Yeah.
Yeah, I love what you're suggesting. S one one of the things I've talked about when I teach the models, I like there to be a ninth C to be choice, and as Dick says, that's not really a quality, I said, I know," but, and I agree with him, but at the same time, this idea of when we have autonomy and when we don't,
Yeah.
and so, for people, I might say what it feels like it feels addictive, right? It feels like I
Yeah.
have no choice about what I'm exposed to or how much I turn to my phone, my pad, my screen. And so sometimes I say, what if we just, though, that polarity between the parts that say, I should know, and it's a team. I should
Yeah.
know, I should stay abreast of things, I must know, it's important to
Yes.
know. And my other parts that are just like, I can't do it anymore. And so that sense of overstimulation and then collapse.
That's
And
right.
then underneath that, the exile that feels both powerless and hopeless.
Yeah.
And so the idea of bringing choice to that dilemma, I think, is really great in terms of you talking with your client, choosing something, but not everything.
Choice is everything. It probably deserves its own acronym,
Right,
in
it
the
does.
IFS world. You'll have to talk to Dick about that. Um,
Right.
Even giving clients choice in therapy is part of how therapy is potentially a corrective emotional experience. Does it feel right to go a little deeper with this topic or with this part or with this
Sure.
feeling in your chest? Does it feel better to just stay right here? Does it feel better to just talk or to talk about football for a few more minutes? Right? Because that's
Right,
what we were just
yeah.
doing.
Yes. Sometimes I like to call it the mini pause or the mini unblend, which is, what is it like? Let's pause for a minute. What is it like for you to talk to me about this?
Right.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. So that there's really enormous amount of choice and autonomy. Autonomy, I think, is an underappreciated word in terms of what our clients are seeking and also what they have.
Yeah.
We do have, to notice what they have autonomy over and
Yeah.
not.
I've developed an accidental specialty around working with clients who've had really damaging therapy. I don't know why,
Oh,
but I keep getting these clients
uh
and
huh.
the core theme is it's the antithesis of this. It's they didn't have choice, they didn't have autonomy. They felt the immense pressure and power of the therapist, and they had to just go along with it. There's also this is a chip on my shoulder right now, but I saw a post this morning in a group. It's an EMDR group around. Oh, I've just come up with this new technique, and you can clear 10 targets in 5 minutes with no dissociation. You know, and all this like pressure of like accelerated models, rapid models, all this stuff. And it's just like, I just have such a problem with that because I've worked with a lot of clients who have tried those things and then have had incurred so much damage as a result. But our obsession, and even culturally or in North America, around efficiency and progress and data and all this stuff, like we want it sooner and faster, and we bring that into the healing space. Um, and I just like I have concerns about it. Not a and also just clients trying to be a good client and going, "This feels
Yeah.
really wrong to go further or to do the EMDR and say, 'Yes, I'm fine to keep going.'" right? And then they leave that room in a way worse state than they came because they don't want to upset their therapist, right? And they want to be a good client.
Yeah, and it's wonderful to hear that, they can go to you to have a very different experience. But I think the search for a silver bullet, the one answer, the simplified answer, it's
Huge.
very again, the
Yeah.
way we have so much marketing, our
Yeah.
marketing and every aspect of social media is accompanied by marketing, and, I heard
Yeah.
a neuroscientist, and I'm trying to think who it is right now, was talking about it, but that are as much as there's so much we can do, the plasticity of the brain is an important thing to keep in mind when we're doing healing. Every time we go inside, we're working with that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, our brains weren't exactly equipped for the rapidity, the rapid rate that we have and the access that we have to an altered state. We are in an altered state when we're on our phone. So
That's right.
we aren't exactly equipped for that kind of stimulation.
Yeah.
So it does take takes a proactive stance to deal with it,
Yeah.
I think.
Well, one of the best things I can hear from a client, especially because 99% of what I do is trauma work, one of the best things I can hear is when a client says no to me or says
Right.
that
Of
that didn't
course.
feel right, or I don't want to go there, or they give
Right.
me some feedback and go that that didn't feel right or whatever. And I praise the heck out of them in those moments, right? Especially when they've had those other moments where they've self-abandoned, right? For many reasons. Um, yeah,
There's so much self in that no, right? It's, if we're not just
totally.
parts detectors, we're also self detectors. And what I hear you saying is that you're kind of seeing that as a place of self, which I would, in general, agree with,
Yeah,
particularly saying to an authority that doesn't work for me.
yeah. Well, also, just try segueing it a bit into your world and your work. I think a lot of what I think about around addictive processes is at some point when addictive behaviors are out of control, it doesn't feel like there's a lot of choice in that, right? Like if there's a cocktail on the table, there's not a lot of choice in finishing the whole thing or just having half of it or whatever.
Sure,
And
of course.
sometimes when folks have had a good degree of healing around that, and they've got enough safety in their system and in their nervous system, they have more choice in the face of that, whether it's I'm choosing abstinence, I'm choosing not to have it at all, or to go to a bar at all, or I'm there and I'm choosing to have half of it or whatever.
Yeah, and that's a process. And I think really all of us know what it's like to feel addicted. We use the term somewhat loosely. I am addicted to that show. I am addicted to my new sweater, whatever. We say these words very loosely, but we all know what it's like to not be able to get away from something or
Yeah,
someone.
yeah.
And
Can't live
so I
without
like
it.
to sort of normalize, as you say, like that lowest common denominator, right? To keep it simple, is don't we all know what it's like to have a something going on with ourselves and want to change it and feel unable to? So, I like to just kind of put us all on that same continuum,
Yeah,
and at different points in our life, it may have been much more prominent than others. So to normalize that, and yes, as you're saying that,
yeah.
so often people make a choice not related exactly to their toughest substance or their toughest practice. They're not going to give up their phone first, but they might make a different choice first. But
That's right.
choice is choice. Choice if choice equals self, it's that's what we're looking towards.
Yeah. Well, there's still tremendous cultural stigma and shame around um, folks that are kind of self-identified in recovery, right? Or there's some culture around that of this person is fundamentally weak or out of control or can't,
Hmm.
control themselves or whatever that is, you know. Yeah.
Absolutely, and this is why I at some one was a conference once, and I heard someone say, there's always been this distrust really between the traditional psychotherapy world and the recovery world.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
and and the separation, right? You go to the community mental health center and the anxiety and depression and trauma come in the front door and the side doors for addiction treatment.
Yeah.
Many residential treatment centers have eating disorder and sexual abuse
That's
and
right.
alcohol. And I get that because of there's definitely different dynamics. But what I'm kind of looking at is that is IFS is sort of a bridge because we do talk about behaviors, but we also talk about underlying trauma or attachment wounds.
Yeah.
So we are sort of a bridge between these two worlds where, addiction can say, we can look across the aisle and say they're too much about behavior change. And they can look across the aisle and say, you've been working with this guy for 2 years. Why don't you ask him how much he's drinking?
Right.
No wonder nothing's changed. So there's so much truth in this on both sides. So I really feel IFS is such a good bridge for bringing those two worlds together where we must talk about behaviors or practices very explicitly and at the same time notice that everything is a protection.
Yeah, that's right. It's strange and probably also kind of even stranger from your seat that on one hand, it's like we know more now about working with addictive processes than we did before, and also it still feels like we're in like the ice age with it. Um, Something that IFS offers around when there's an active addictive process or an extreme addictive process, um, that means there's a lot of polarization in one system. Oftentimes, where does that polarization come from? From trauma, from some traumatic or overwhelming life experiences. So, like, treating both and having them hand in hand, or there's places like, the Meadows. I don't know if you know about the Meadows.
Of course, yes. I've
Yeah.
trained. I taught level one to a good from some of the staff at the Meadows. Yeah,
Okay.
we worked with them on a training. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, I remember learning about their program or trying to find a program here for a client where they can
Yes,
really get both the support
yeah,
on the addiction and, the treating the actual root of the darn thing.
that's
In other
right.
words, the
And
trauma.
Meadows is yeah, and there's definitely treatment programs that are very open to it. Dick has been a consultant now at the Meadows for a number of years, so they've learned a
Yeah,
lot of IFS and trauma underneath. And we've been also teaching on the other side of the country at High Watch in Connecticut. We've
okay.
been teaching level 1 there. So
That's
that
exciting.
particular organization, all of their staff is trained in IFS level 1, level 2, level 3, and now a second level 1. So the bridge is being built on both sides,
I
and they're
love it.
totally this place
Yeah,
was the land for this place was donated to Bill W. in the 1930s. They love 12-step, as they should, and support it as we do.
yeah.
And what else can we say other than, "Did you go to a meeting?" That's a good question, but we need to say more and to address even the internal stigma.
Mhm.
Kay Gardner says about patriarchy, she says, "Women have an inner patriarchal piece too. We've learned things." And I would say that even the client using has an inner part that hates that they use. And this internal dynamic
Mhm.
is so that we stigmatize ourselves and we are stigmatized in the larger world.
Yeah, totally. Well, I might have parts that are delaying showing you my clip, but, also
I'll
have
be
parts
nice.
that are
I'll be
like,
nice.
"Do it," and you have a chance to get
No, I
Cease's
love
opinion.
something like
So,
this, Jen. I think it's totally cool, and it'll be
yeah.
very I'm imagining it'll be super useful for people.
I think so. That's why I've done these demos, and, you know, the more I've done them and put them online, some people are like I remember my friend who's a psychologist was like, "Dude, I can't believe you did that." I didn't think it was a big deal, but he was like, "I can't believe you put yourself out there in that way." And that had me thinking like, "Gosh, maybe I should be more self-conscious."
What risk am I into right here?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But then other people being like, "Dude, so happy to see this." And of course, watching my own work back, a lot of times I instantly see the misses or how I would do that moment differently or whatever. So
Right, I know, I do it when I watch myself too.
yeah, exactly. But it's worth it. Well, this session, so this is when I had just started doing demos. This was the first person that ever volunteered for a demo a few years ago. And so I had a preliminary conversation with her on the phone before doing this. She had mentioned quite a bit of trauma history in her system. And so we're really just starting out fresh here in the beginning of this session. So I want to show it to you and get your feedback and ideas. And then whenever you want me to pause, just say pause and you can jump in and we can chat. So does that
Sounds
sound okay?
wonderful. Yeah.
Okay. Here goes nothing.
Yep.
So for the folks listening, we were chatting and I've gotten a little bit of
Just
background, a little bit of
it just went
history
off.
and
See
about
it?
other types of therapies you've you've received, so that was really helpful, and, but that being said, yeah, what do you wanna work on today? Couple technical difficulties, let me just try again here.
Sure.
Okay, I'll just play it and then remove it whenever you say pause.
I would
Okay,
like to
yeah.
work on my binge eating disorder, so addiction to food.
Mhm. Great, okay. Um, Tell me more about that. Just start talking about it, and as you talk about it, I also want you to notice what develops inside. Feelings, sensations, something shifting in your body, images. Um, yeah, let's just see what happens.
Yeah. So it all started when I was together with my ex-partner, and he was quite controlling and had a lot of opinions on everything I did. So especially on like food, that I ate too expensive food or that I ate food that wasn't good for me, and especially sugar. Like every time I ate sugar, he was really, really bullying me. So
Mm.
I was like, in the end, I just started to eat specific foods outside of the apartment because I was so scared that if I eat it inside, he's gonna comment on me so much.
Mm,
Um, and the food also became a way to handle like all his comments about how I was working out, what I was doing on my free time, people I was spending time with. It was just like a resort that I could at least open the refrigerator. Yeah.
mhm, okay. Yeah, so you just took a big breath there. What's happening in your body?
My body just feels like it wants to cry because it's holding on to so much anxiety.
Yeah,
Um,
okay. Yeah, is it okay if we go toward that feeling? If we go toward that anxiety or let it develop a bit?
yeah.
Okay. Just see what happens when you do that.
Oh, well, it's like it's the anxiety is saying, "Well, no, 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 don't come here, don't look here, don't look at me."
Yeah, don't look at me.
Mm,
Don't look at me. Yeah. Okay. So I also want to give, put some guardrails on what we're doing, meaning if you have parts, specifically protector parts, that have concerns about us doing this session today or doing it in this format or having it published and other people seeing it, definitely listen to those and check with those parts first before we go a little further.
mm. Yeah, of course.
Mhm. Yeah. So see what happens when you do that. You might even just kind of go inside and close your eyes if you want and just ask, hey, do any parts have concerns right now about us going further?
Yeah, a lot of parts are just screaming help, like they are drowning.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And how are you feeling toward them?
Um, there's a feeling towards them that are just like, "Oh, hush! Don't make such a big fuss. Just be quiet. Suck it up."
Okay. Can you turn toward the part that says, oh, be quiet, you're just making a big fuss, suck it up?
Yeah.
I'll pause for a second there.
So is this the beginning of her session?
Yeah.
So she jumps right in.
Yeah.
So what's that like for you? Does it feel how's the pace feel for you when you watch it?
It feels fast.
Right.
It feels a bit, yeah, faster than would normally be. Um, And there's also that extra layer of, like, it being a demo, so maybe if she's feeling any pressure to, like, get there or, like, get to the meat of it, um, and I had wished I had, yes, slowed her down or checked for that consent first of just what's it like to do this demo and knowing that this will potentially be online if she approved it after the session. I was given those options, but I wish I'd kinda slowed down and given her those consents first and not once we started to get into her system.
Well, okay, yeah, and again, I wasn't thinking can I say what I was thinking?
Please.
Yeah, so I wasn't I mean, I really appreciated your conscientiousness about wanting her you noticed that she was getting into it very quickly in the first
Yeah,
few moments of meeting you, and she'd never met you before, so you notice
right.
it. So I think what I hear you saying is that for you, what you were tracking as clinician is just separate from the demo, wow, she's talking about something pretty painful,
Yeah,
and we've just met. And then and then secondary to that, is there something about doing the demo that's related to that? Is she jumping in fast because it's a demo and she's trying to help me? Or is o or should I remind her this is a demo and help her slow down? So, it sounds like you're kind of riding those 2 rails.
yeah,
Am I hearing that right?
that's right. Yeah,
Yeah, and that makes sense. But the idea around the demo wasn't paramount in my mind because it doesn't matter. She can say no at the end and never go do it.
yeah,
But I was thinking about her pacing. And so I was really liked when you said to her, "How what's it like to talk to me about this?" And then she had these parts that said, "Don't talk to me about this. Don't go there." And then these other parts that are like, "Help me."
yeah,
So is what I heard. So for me, probably I would have at some point just and also just the painful relationship.
totally.
I mean, weren't you feeling that a little bit as she spoke about this former relationship,
Absolutely.
the cruelty
Yeah,
of
with
the
that
parts of her former
right,
partner? So awesome that he's
totally.
former, or I mean, it's a he. They
Yeah,
awesome that they are former,
yeah,
um, a former partner. But at the same time, I was relieved for her about that. That she somehow found a way out of the relationship with that person. But
yeah.
at the same time, I'm curious. So, were you feeling into an emotional response around? Wow, that sounds like it was a tough situation for you, or you know, was
Yeah.
any of that in your mind around some of that?
Well, I think what I was thinking is and I know she has done other therapy work, non-IFS work, and so when a client comes in with a story or an idea of, like, "This is what I think the root is," or, "This is when this began," right? I'm hearing that and also wondering, is there a moment to for us to see which parts are alive right now in relation to this
Right.
story? Um
Yes.
Sometimes it's helpful that they already have that story, like, this is when the pattern developed, right? Or for her, this is when the concealing started to happen, and then did it more, right? And I knew if I didn't conceal it, it was pretty bad, right? And he would, not be nice to me. So I'm hearing that, and I guess I'm also looking for an opening to invite her inside and see how well she can tolerate going inside, and we find out pretty quickly, and we get a pretty loud response, right? All these parts screaming, and then another part like, "Oh, shush," right? Like real specific energy, like, "Oh, shush, all of you just shush."
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah,
Well, she certainly jumps right into saying, "I've got disordered eating." So this
yeah,
is primary for her, and I appreciate what you're saying, which is she has her own story, and of course, as a clinician, and I'm sure for you, I don't think anybody's story started last in their in their last relationship. However, at the same I mean, there's always a root, but at the same time, I truly get it that the nature of that relationship was, in particular, quite painful for her and exaggerated some things, or again, she may have had other issues, but not so much a food issue until she was in this thing. So, we don't know yet. But I hear you what you're saying about bringing her in the moment. And here's the shortest answer. We've done a lot of this, but this is where my mind is going around this as I
yeah,
hear this polarity. Go there, don't go there.
right.
Parts that are screaming for help and parts that say, don't even get involved in that. So for me, where I go is say, let's bring both of those sides together
That's right.
and just name how it's like to have parts that say, "I have to fix this now," and other parts that say, "It's a mess. get away from it. You got rid of the relationship, get rid, like that. So
Yeah.
I like to say, so I'm kind of hearing, sometimes in those moments I say, can I reflect this back to you in
Right.
parts language, which maybe you're about to do. You want to keep going,
Sure. Yeah. Let's see
but
what we
that's
can
what
do.
I'm very much hearing the polarity right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. I think what's happening here is this part that just said, "Oh, shush." Now I'm seeing if she can turn toward that part and what
Right.
happens there. IFS is simple but not easy. On the surface, it's about parts and self. But when you're in the room with a client, things can get complex fast. Helping someone meet a protective part or wounded exile, that takes skill. And most importantly, it takes safety. My name is John Clarke, trauma therapist and IFS therapist, and in this free webinar for therapists and practitioners, we're going to explore the subtleties that make IFS so powerful and how to navigate them with more clarity and confidence. You're going to learn why safety is everything and how to do it well, what trips therapists up when applying IFS in practice, and a simple tool that you can begin using right away. If you want to go beyond theory and truly embody the work, then this is for you. Join the free webinar today. Link is in the description.
See what happens. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. The audio gets like kind of wonky here and there, but it levels out eventually.
It's also ashamed because it knows it is doing the wrong thing.
Okay. It's angry, but it's also ashamed.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay. And how do you experience this part? What does it look like, sound like? Do you get any particular image or sensation in your body?
It's like my father. Uh, it's like his voice. Yeah, it just looks like him with an angry face.
Okay.
Mm.
All right.
And become violent towards me.
Okay. All right. Meaning in this moment that he might do that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So do me a favor and just either ask him for a little space, or you could um, contain yourself in a bubble of white light, or you could contain him in a similar bubble, or even in a more sturdy structure like a room.
I'm I'm so afraid of him that I'm afraid to ask him to sit down. So
Yeah,
maybe I will put myself in like another room or in a bubble.
that sounds like a good idea. Yeah.
Mm.
So you can create that space or take that space for yourself,
Mm.
and we can worry later about asking him for that space, knowing that that might not go well.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Couple technical difficulties. So we had the sound all cut out in that very critical moment, and then I kind of we jump back in, but curious to get your thoughts on that piece.
Well, here I mean, for me, again, if she was my client, I would say, so I think you invited her to go toward the part. Was it the part that was screaming for which part would you were directing her toward? The part that was screaming for
It
help?
was the part that came in and said, "Oh shush," to the kind of cluster of parts that were screaming help.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
So I just hear a combination of protectors and exile here.
Yeah.
So, and I also hear her saying the part looks like my father, and then she's really blended with the exile
That's right.
that didn't have autonomy and voice with her father. It sounds like he was a scary person. So
Mhm.
now we're into the parts that hold some old, really painful stuff for her right away. And I'm sure you're thinking that too.
Mhm.
And yet for me, I would say a couple things.
Yeah.
I would say, so again, I would probably comment on what she's telling me. So I just say, so I just would want to say, Jane, I just hear you telling me that am I hearing this right? That things were quite difficult with your father, that he's a very difficult person, and I think I would make that context statement with
Yeah.
her around what I was hearing.
Mm.
And, I'm really kind of okay having people tell me a little of the story as it emerges, and then kind of shifting back to parts. I think
Yeah.
Dick used to say that we send managers out to tell the story so that they can see if we can handle them. So I kind of like hearing some things. But anyway, having said that,
Yeah.
when someone sees a part as their parent, actually, then I say something like, so there's parts of you that remember your father and how angry and difficult he was. And they're stressful. And then there's other parts of you that sort of seem like him, like that your parts they're angry and
Mhm.
stressful. And I'd say something like, but your father isn't here. So he may still be out there doing what he does. I don't know. Well, I'm waiting to hear more about that for you. But at the same time, what I hear is a part of you absorbed his energy.
Yeah.
A part of you absorbed the capacity to be mean spirited and
Yeah.
controlling. And it's painful that a part of you developed all that, absorbed all his energy. But the good part is, if it's your part, we can work with it. So you're jumping into working with it, right? But I
Yeah.
would distinguish it as something within her power to work with, really
So
specifically.
fascinating. And I do find this comes up a lot with clients. This just came up yesterday in a class I was teaching, where there's a part that sounds and even looks a lot like mom. And then
Right.
there's this kind of question of like, is it mom? Is that like literally mom's energy in your system? Is it a part that has learned from mom and mimics mom, right? Or again, even this energy around, oh shush, right? That's a real specific energy of like an overwhelmed parent who's like, I just need all y'all in the back of the minivan to shush, or worse.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I'm really curious if you can say more about, yeah, how you help flesh that out.
Yeah, in the person is holding this experience within their own body home and within
Yeah,
themselves in this moment. So for me, I don't have a lot of question in my own mind. There
yeah,
might be a point where someone's parent enters into a scene, but in
right.
this moment, I would say, "Do you think it's possible?" I wouldn't tell them, but I'd say, "Do you so you have a part right now you're with a part that looks or sounds a lot like your parent, your father or your mother,
Mhm,
and yet they're not here. So do you think it's possible? Can we check with this part? Do you think it's absorbed some of their energy?"
mhm.
So I like what you're doing. You're helping her flesh that part out. What does it look like? What does it sound like? And that since you said it sounds and looks like my father. And I would say, that's just where I go.
Yeah,
Kind of almost inevitably, I say, and yet your father's not here.
yeah,
Just check with that part and ask it if it seems to be holding some of your father's energy. Or does it learn that back in the
nice.
day? So this to me is empowering because many people still have active family who are out there
Oh,
actively
yeah,
unchanged and
or living
actively
with them.
aggressive or
Yeah,
living with them. That's right,
yeah,
John. Exactly. So this way, and I say to clients all the time, if we can work with your part, this beating you up, this part's mad at another part of yours. And if you and I work with this, you're going to feel a lot more empowered when you have to deal with them out
yeah,
there.
nice,
So there's
nice.
a lot of hope in that. It's a lot of
Yeah,
empowerment in that, which I believe there is.
yeah. Well, I love that line around notice that he's not here. I last week I did this in a session in person where I said, and of course this part is terrified, right, of dad, and also have your parts notice that dad's not here in this room in my office.
Right.
It's you here and also it's me here. So sometimes I'll invite them to connect to me a little more if that seems like it could be a resource. And so it's just kind of like a mini update of like, oh, that, yeah, I guess he's not in this room. even though he does still exist, or I do have to go see him next weekend or whatever, right? So parts are very aware of, you know, of that.
These are yeah, right, these are active, troubling,
Yeah.
situations, and
Yeah.
for this one, though, I would say this harsh one sounds like for this current client, this woman that's a protector. It's an angry manager that beats up her
Mhm.
parts about food and other things, and this one, like, that you're talking about, this sounds like a little exile that's
Yeah.
holding all the fear. And I
Totally.
think the woman you were with actually probably the fear was there and the protector was there. So
Yeah.
then we're splitting her. It will help her to say, so there's a part of you, part of him, and a part of you that knows how to be mean. And then there's little ones that have
That's
been
right.
very, very hurt. But on the outside, and sometimes from the inside too. So
Well, yeah.
to
But
track that. But you're right, like this
yeah.
one yesterday, that's the little exile. Right.
Yeah.
So then you're wanting to bring some self into for the exile.
Well, regardless of what it is, um, she's blended with the part that's feeling scared of dad or dad's energy or whatever. And so that's the
Mhm.
current focus now of this moment, right? And that's what's making this moment kind of tenuous, right? We're going to kind of see where it goes. But yeah, and also I'm learning about her system is it moves fast. And something I learned because I ended up doing a series of demos with her is she can get quite dissociated, right, quite fast. And so when we get into some uh yeah, deeper waters or heavy material or whatever, she can get, feel pretty spacey. So later we end up having to work with that and work around that and kind of partner with those dissociative parts. But again, yeah, in this moment, I'm learning her system on the fly and trying to figure out how how deep can we go here, and even in this demo setting and all that. Yeah. Okay, let's see what happens next. Difficulties here with our sound, but we're gonna pick back up. Um, you mentioned, yeah, seeing this part that looks like this father figure or looks like your father. So we were just about to try to create a little bit of space or create a little bit of protection for you. So you might try to do that now and just see how it goes.
Um, yeah, I can put myself in another room. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. See how that goes and see if you can get a little bit curious about what's happening with you in another room, with just encountering this part that looks like dad.
How do you mean? Like I'm in one room and then what will I encounter?
Well, let's clarify a little bit what you're seeing in that room. Are you seeing a part of you, or does it look like you today?
You mean the self or the one who's screaming for help?
Yeah, just trying to clarify which one you've put in the room.
That is the self.
Okay. All right. So how does it feel to have self in that room?
Well, it feels like I should be out there defending my exile, my inner child from my father.
Okay.
Feels like I'm hiding.
You might check and see if it's a part that's hiding, a part that retreated from dad and was scared of dad just now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So then turn toward the part that's scared and check in, see how you're feeling toward it.
I'm disgusted by it. Like, um, it's so weak.
Okay. Okay. A lot going on here. Um, something I wish I had done, Cease, is anytime a client says like, "I feel like I want to go do X," I tend to say, go do X, right? If there's self-energy, it's like, I wanna give that part a hug, I would usually say, yeah, does it feel right to go ahead and give that part a hug and see what happens? She had kind of said her experience of self, that self is here and self wants to go protect all these parts from dad. Um, so I guess I kind of wish I had said, could you go do that and see what happens? But, and then it took us somewhere else. So yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, a lot going on there. And
Yeah.
now does she seems like she knows IFS language a little bit.
Yeah, she knows enough. She's read No Bad Parts. Um, she's
Okay, so
into
she's read No
stuff.
Bad Parts.
Yeah.
And so does she kinda come also for some IFS therapy, like, she's kind of wanting or prepared for that?
Yes, she specifically wanted IFS. Yeah, and knows the basics.
Ah, right. Yeah. Well, again, I probably in general, I've been doing this more and more lately, John,
Mhm.
and you can tell me what you think about it.
Yeah.
But when someone first comes in, I feel like I want them to see more than just a part. I want them to sort of see how their system the pattern of their life.
Mm,
So, what pattern they have, and so we're hearing again from a part of her that's disgusted with the little one for being so vulnerable,
that's right. Yeah.
and she feels disgusted toward that little vulnerable one, and she also feels protective of it. She
Yeah.
felt like when she kinda got the idea that self should be in a room. Well, she's self, so that got she's self, so she can't exactly put self in a room. She could go in
That's
a
right.
room.
Yeah.
Um, so again, it is a common thing to people know self isn't a part, but they sort of treat it like a part. "Okay, self, come over here. Stand
Yeah.
next to me," like that.
Yeah.
So she's trying to learn all of that, and you're trying to
Yeah.
manage that with her, which is a
Right.
lot. So I probably would do something like, again, I do more reflection to someone around their system. I might say,
Mm,
"So can I
interesting.
tell you what I'm hearing here? So see
Yeah.
if I've got this right." So
Yeah.
there's a little now there's this part that's really disgusted with the little one. The little
Yeah.
one's still here. And now I'm hearing there's a part of you that's very disgusted with that little one.
Mm,
And then rather than doing you can do the bubble or other kind of one and just say, how do you notice that disgusted one? Because
yeah.
it is what you're noticing. She blends with it. And
Yes,
we
right
so
away.
often blend with our judging managers.
Yep.
It's so we're talking about our earlier conversation, how the Western culture is so just stigmatizes all kinds of vulnerability
Yeah.
and out of control behavior, which also makes us vulnerable. So she's blending to me. I hear her blending with that
Agree.
manager,
Yep.
and you're
Right away.
working, and you know it, and you're
Yeah.
trying to get some space from that.
Yeah.
But I might just say, can I just say, so is that right? How do you notice the little one, and then how you notice the one who's disgusted?
Yeah.
So
It's so interesting. So I think for whatever reason, I've been taught to do less of that reflecting because the fear is like it'll bring them out of their system. But in reality, I think it kind of anchors into helping them get a bird's eye view of what's happening here.
anchors is the
Notice.
word. Yes, I
Yeah.
think so, John.
Because a lot of
I
times what I'll
think
do is
so.
toward the end of the session, as we come out of the insight work, I'll give them time for us to kind of chat about what happened today. And that's when I might have this conversation around, yeah, this part that looked and sounded like your dad came in, and then this part. So how do you
That's
notice
nice.
that?
How was
Or
that for
add
her?
it add it to your parts map. I do that with most everyone because I think it helps them again rise above it a bit and go, here's what happened today. And then as John, it's like, here's what I kind of notice happening, and here's what I saw your system kind of doing, and here's some key players. So maybe I should do more of that in the moment because that could really help anchor the work, as it's happening. Because again, her system's moving like that.
Well, it's interesting because, again, she's coming in primed, loaded
Yeah.
for bear, as we say, ready to go with
Yeah.
her IFS. And
Yeah.
so, in a way, we're in a dilemma.
Yeah.
Should we just jump in because she's ready to jump in, or should
Right.
we, in some way, pace this
Yeah.
so that there's some sort of foundation we're working from?
That's right.
So, a little bit while I watch her, I want to know, I want that foundation a little bit. Did you feel any of that working with her, or not so much?
Feel the foundation.
Wanting to know a little bit more about her as you took her into these tender places. Did you feel that
Definitely.
or not so much?
Definitely. I definitely felt myself wanting to know that, and, um, I'm also I'm getting information about her and her family, and now this is the first I'm hearing about dad and going, "Okay, dad is maybe a polarizing figure in her life," right? There's this, partner that she had who has been not nice, right, and abusive, so I'm hearing about that, so
Pattern. You're hearing those
yeah,
patterns are starting to
hearing that.
come to you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
even
I'm with
outside
you.
of IFS, I'm in that assessment mode, while also trying to be present here with her and with her system and trying to gauge to what degree can she tolerate going inside, right? And, yeah, so I specifically wanted to show you her because of, yeah, how her system moves and how quickly, you saw she got blended in a couple of these moments. And also she has moments where she is very connected to self, and that can be a very vivid experience for her. And she feels it very somatically. She has images when she's really in self, and she can really bring that to parts at times. So we over the few sessions, we start building more of that skill and capacity. But in this session, we're just kind of off to the races with a bunch happening all at once.
Well, right, and it's just so interesting. So it obviously worked out. But here we're coming back in the day. I told the story recently when I was taking the level one here in Chicago in the 90s. We didn't have it wasn't called level one. It was just called IFS. That's all it
Yeah.
existed. And so it was really called Dick's model.
Right. Yeah.
That's what we were taking. And and I said to Dick, I would like to try this. He goes, well, call this guy and you can go and have some sessions with him. I go, okay. So I go and I sit down with him and I'm in the level one. And nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too. That's right. So he takes me right inside and we go inside and I found this 10-year-old part of me. And then this other thing happens. And then I have this whole internal reaction. And later on my train ride home, I was in a total backlash. I'm like,
Yeah.
what the actual
Right. Right.
F?
Yep.
I don't know this
Totally.
guy. I don't know where he's going with me. I don't feel safe. I
Absolutely.
didn't feel safe to have that level of experience
Yeah.
with someone I didn't know. And so I think, I'm not saying everyone's like me because she and you are working together. So it all worked out. But I think
Yep.
I'm more, in the beginning at least, just reflecting, letting people know, letting people get mirrored. I see you. This is what I'm hearing. Do I have this
Yeah.
right? Let's
That's
pause.
nice. Mhm.
Um, as a way to provide that safe context. And also, if you grow up in chaotic or harsh or authoritarian systems,
Yeah.
we're so not mirrored the way we
That's
see
right.
ourselves, the way we need to be seen. So mirroring can be powerful for people.
Yeah.
Oops, are we freezing a little bit?
Yep.
Is it just me?
You're good.
Is
It
it
just
okay? Is it
lagged a little,
okay?
but
All
you're
right.
you're still good.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think there's a part of me that uh, I think just because those are my needs. Now,
Yeah.
for you, I hear what you're saying. You're just sort of testing the waters with her and going with
Yeah.
her initial request, which is to learn about IFS and her system.
That's right. Yeah. 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 I'm more and more aware of when a client's parts have urgency and a therapist's parts have urgency around like either getting something done here or our excitement to show someone the model or give them a taste of it, or in this case this element that this is a demo, we both know it's being recorded, right? She's bringing a lot, or even how she started this session of kind of going right to it, right, and right to the eating stuff and the food and the partner. um so I'm aware of those elements, so the whole first 15 minutes looks and feels very accelerated because it is. And I wanna both honor, like, parts that really wanna be heard or tell me that story, and
Yes.
also
And
have my own brake pedal to pump it and go, "Yeah, we've got more than enough time for me to hear all of that, in this work, we can slow it down. What would it be like to slow it down?" So, yeah, it's an unusual circumstance to do a session in, and then sometimes, like, my fear is, like, therapists will see this demo and be like, "Do it like that," or "It should be this fast," or whatever, and it's like most demos, they're really, not ordinary sessions. It's often slow or clunky, or the client goes inside for 30 seconds and then goes back to talking about football, It's like
right. Yeah. But I like what you're naming, which is the urgency or the sort of the drive many clients arrive
yeah,
with. And
yeah,
particularly in this case, with her processes around food. They're
Yeah.
troubling to her.
Oh, yeah. That's why
They
she's here, and that's urgent
yes,
for
this
her.
was her motivator to be with you.
Yeah, that's why she
So
signed up.
I
Mhm.
might also say, for me, I'm also again, I'm listening, and at the same time, I might say, of course, it's good. I'm 100% with you. I support your goal to work on this food thing. It's like it's become quite painful and
Yeah.
stressful. And at the same time, in this model, we might say the parts of you that are urgent. Do you're feeling
Yeah.
there's some of this urgency? Let's just notice that. Does
Right.
that feel familiar to you to push yourself?
Yeah.
So at the same time, we give a chance to have a little unblend from and listen to, because again, part of that pushing is also what stresses her exiles
That's right.
and
Yep.
then causes her firefighters to have to soothe again with food. Is this push, push, push? My hunch is
Totally.
in other parts of her life, right?
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
I'm always listening very, very hard in the early part of work
Yeah.
for the way we all blend with those managers that want ourselves to be better.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
Yeah. No doubt.
and just gently, not
Yeah.
because we're not really even aware of it, but just gently start to tease that out as parts of us that, have high expectations or,
Yeah.
and really also severe judgment.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, something I'm thinking about is, like, part of how we keep the work safe is we go slow, we work with protectors first and foremost, we get consent, we check ad nauseum for self-energy and make sure it's really there. And there's some of those pieces that were in this, clip, and also I would have liked to have done more of that to really make sure how do we keep this work safe for her and her system, and again, given how much polarity is in her system. So,
But I wouldn't say it's
yeah.
going slow
Mm,
to name the parts that are in the room with us.
sure, sure.
I mean, I know what you mean,
Yeah.
but it would be even to start really with what's it like to notice that
Mhm,
urgency. So I love really, I like that you're respecting her desire to work on her disordered eating.
mhm,
This is we want to respect what brought people here, but
mhm.
I don't think it's working slow to help someone notice that. At the
Mm,
same time, I think that also when their protectors notice them,
yeah,
that's another way that safety gets created in the
yep.
system.
That makes
Does
sense,
that make
yeah.
sense?
Yeah, being deliberate and thorough.
Yeah is a good word.
Yeah,
Deliberate around those
yeah,
blends. That's right, John, because
yeah,
I guess because of my working so long with trauma and addictive processes,
yeah,
that polarity between hating what I do to myself and yet having to do it, that
yes,
polarity is so ever present.
absolutely.
I'm very acutely listening for that, which you helped her find. She
Yeah,
found that disgust for her weakness. And I'm
yes,
sure she's got the same disgust for whatever she's got around food.
that's right.
And so
Yeah,
that's a handle, and you can go back to that.
yeah. Okay, well, I am glad I showed you this clip because this was
I know.
amazing.
How are you, John? How are you after showing that clip?
I'm great, yeah, you were great, and, yeah, it's always humbling, showing my work. It's one of those things, it's like it's humbling and, but also, like, I really believe in putting myself out there in this way because if a single person can benefit from this, whether they're a client to see the model in action or a therapist going like, "Let me learn," you know, from other people's work or seeing the model, yeah, in action, it's really helpful, and then to have someone like you is just a legend in IFS, like, what a treat for me to get that feedback, so everything makes sense, and, I think it's also about giving ourselves grace as we use the model and learn it or you
Oh,
learn
how
the
about
client's
it?
system, and so,
Oh,
I find that if we do miss the mark, if and when we miss the mark, clients are often more gracious than we fear they would be if we do miss the mark or
well,
if we
and
get,
you continue.
you know
So the
yeah,
bottom line is Martha Sweezy wrote this in our book,
yeah,
and and she said the goal of the first session is a second session. in particular with addictive processes that are
Hmm.
so attached to stigma and shame.
That's great.
And so you have had numerous sessions. You guys have developed
Yeah.
your clinical connection. So it clearly, even as I have my perspective, it clearly worked for you guys.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
the both and
That's right.
so it continued
That's right.
and how is she still a client or
Yeah.
good?
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, and a handful of our first sessions are on YouTube. So some people can watch them as a series and see how the work develops, which is really fascinating, and see how she and I kind of do this dance with IFS and how I learn her system and she learns her own system, and again, real moments. There's some unburdening moments in later sessions and lots of self energy and also lots of potential pitfalls with the work or moments where that blending can happen fast. So yeah, it's I'm really lucky to have worked with her, and a lot of people online have commented what an honor it is to see her story and her journey. So I'm really lucky that people are so
But
courageous
I
to
love
volunteer
that you
themselves.
are just going right to it, which is
Yeah,
just let's look at this work together
yeah,
and
that's right.
um m- rather than talk about
Yeah,
it's sort of you're taking the experiential aspect of IFS and really laying it out there.
yeah.
Let's
I try
experience
to. That's
this
how I learn.
together. Good for
That's how I
you.
learn. Yeah.
I love it.
Well, Cease, this was a real treat for me and certainly for our listeners. Thank you again so much for doing this, for your tremendous work in IFS and in therapy at large. So thank you again for doing this, and you're welcome back anytime.
Oh, it's a delight to be with you, and I love what you're doing. It is truly a gift for everyone to sort of to get into the weeds.
Yes,
No better way
that's
to
what
get
we
into
do
the
here.
weeds than watch the
Yeah,
weeds unfold
yeah,
in front of our eyes.
that's right.
Thank you so much, John.
Thanks again, Cease. Talk soon. Bye. Thanks for listening to another episode of Going Inside. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe wherever you're listening or watching, and share your favorite episode with a friend. You can follow me on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at John Clarke Therapy, and apply to work with me one-on-one at johnclarketherapy.com. See you next time.